Now, Durvāsā Muni was this powerful mystic. He had abilities that it's not just like abilities that that someone has to work really hard to get, like to get these mystic powers that he had. You have to really perform intense austerities for. You have to have self-control way beyond what, like a super athlete or, incredible classical musician or gymnast or something like that has to achieve that level that Durvāsā had achieved. But it didn't grant him happiness in life. And as a matter of fact, he found himself, what it did was it kind of increased his pride and arrogance.
Right.
And he was suffering for it.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from New York's Upper West Side, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast, and today I'm your host, Kaustubha Das. Raghunath is in transit, is that correct, Mara?
That's right, he's on his way to Florida with Tarun.
Oh, okay. This is like a family thing, right? This is
Yeah,
not like
a little family trip.
program thing. It's a family trip. Okay, so you got Tarun and they're going down there to see Rocco?
Yep, exactly, and Sachi's down there right now as well.
Oh, well, that's a big family thing. My God. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Rose not here, but we have a special guest host back by popular demand. It's Kishori Gopi coming in from Vermont. She's called the Bright Light of Vermont, and it's good to have you here, Kishori.
Very cool, sweet soul. Thank you, Kaustubha and Maraji, for having me back. It's always such an honor and pleasure.
A lot of people will respond. Oh, bring her back.
I don't know about that, but
No, I'm not making that up. I'm telling the truth.
thank you. Welcome back to you. Welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Home. I was just saying, it's so good to see your deities and your New York background.
Yeah, it's, of course, it was wonderful in India all that time, but it's good to be back home too. Good to be back in New York, bumping into some people here and there, and trying to get into my routine now. There's always, when you're gone for a long time, there's always stuff to do at home, clean up this, and get this together, and take care of this and that.
Yeah, I feel like after a month gone, and you were gone for 5 months.
Yeah, a little over 5 months. Do we have you coming through the right mic, Kishori Gopi? I'm a little what do you think, Mara? Did that sound right to you?
I don't know. Tell me, Mara.
Yeah, you're a touch echoey.
It sounds to me more like you're coming through the computer mic than the
versus Riverside.
Yeah.
Versus
no, versus
the fancy mic that you got there.
Okay, I'll tinker.
Yeah, take a look at that.
I'll tinker.
Meanwhile, why don't we check in with Mara? And Mara, are there any announcements today?
Yeah, it's Wear Your Merch Monday.
Oh, and look,
that you're representing.
Yeah, it's 5.5 months. And you're double representing.
I am. So help us promote the show by wearing your Wisdom of the Sages merch. Take a picture and share it on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll share the post too. And everyone's been asking, and so now we've got brand new hats and beanies with the Wisdom of the Sages logo available also. So if you go to wisdomofthesages.com and you go to merch, you can check it all out.
Any other announcements?
That's it. We'll be on at 7 a.m. all week, including Saturday.
Okay. And I'm doing that Harvard thing.
Oh, you'll be speaking at Harvard.
The time has come.
I will be speaking at Harvard this coming Thursday. I think it's at 9 a.m. And I'm really looking forward to this subject. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. But it's like these different levels of, there's always this big question, especially when it comes to Eastern spirituality. Is the absolute truth, is God like a person? Or is God like an energy? When you finally get to the end of it all, And of course, that question is asked right up front in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 2nd chapter. And there's this famous verse, Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajgyanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdite. That one absolute truth can be understood in 3 features. As like a non-personal energy, as like a localized presence within the heart of every living being, and also as a person. And there's a lot to this idea. I think when we dig into this idea, it begins to answer all these different questions about spirituality and religion and the problems with it and when it's on the mark or when it's off the mark. I think as I've delved into it, I think a lot of the resistance that people have towards religion
Mhm.
is because when there's someone that has faith in a personal God, but has no Brahman realization, they don't see the equality of all living beings, they don't look at the spiritual nature. They kind of think, well, I have my personal God and I'm better than everyone else because of, when you have that Bhagavan faith, but you don't have even Brahman realization, what to speak of Bhagavan realization, then spirituality or religion, it can warp into all kind of like destructive kind of modes. And
Mhm.
so, in any case, there's a lot to talk about on that subject. I'll be doing that as part of Happy Jacks, kind of like Harvard kind of series of talks. So it's a series of talks. Do you have the link for that, Mary? Maybe I don't know if it's the same
We
link
already
as the
put it in
one.
the chat.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in the chat board.
okay. Is
And
that for
I'll
mine in particular, or is that
Yeah.
for like?
yeah, and I'll also include it in the show notes as well
Okay, is that 9 a.m. on Thursday
on Friday.
Eastern time? Oh, it's on Friday. Okay,
Yes.
good to know. Gives me an extra day.
Mhm.
All right. So anyway, I'll post something about that on my social media coming up too. But I'm really looking forward to that. It's a subject that I'm developing a lot of interest in. All right. Meanwhile, I think we have a nugget today. Is that correct, Kishori Gopi?
We do.
Would you like
Yeah,
to read the nugget and
I'd
tell us
love
who it's
to.
from?
Yes, this nugget is from Christian theologian Thomas Kempis.
A Kempis.
A
Yeah.
Kempis. He says that when life feels heavy, these two remedies relieve life's complexities: simplicity and purity.
Simplicity and
Simplicity,
purity.
yeah.
Okay.
Simplicity seeks God, purity enjoys Him.
Very interesting. Very
Hmm.
interesting, right? In other words, it's I a lot of times I speak about like the yogis, they kind of function, their basic fundamental operating system is simplicity and kindness.
Hmm.
And here he says simplicity and purity, and then he goes on to define them a bit. Simplicity seeks God, right? Like I'm not interested. I used to think that in order to be happy, I need a lot of external things. I'm going to need certain arrangements to be made in this world before I can be happy.
Yeah.
Simplicity says, actually, I don't need all that much. Like maybe I need, maybe just because on the level that I'm at, I do need certain basic, necessities in life. But mostly it's relatively simple. It's nothing complicated. I need maybe I need a roof over my head and four walls. And maybe I need some clothes, but they don't have to be the most expensive clothes, and I don't need a huge wardrobe.
Mm.
Maybe I need food, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the most opulent or expensive food. And so like the yogi is kind of like simplifying life. They actually take joy in it. They actually take. I was even go.
Okay.
When I came in here, the first thing I did when I got home was go through my kitchen.
And clean it?
Yeah, yeah, and cleaned the kitchen and just kind of went
Mhm.
through everything. I had very nice guests staying in my home while I was away. Um, but they set things up a little different. So, I was kind of just resetting it up. And as I was going through the house and cleaning, I said, there's stuff here that I don't even need. It could be still more simple. And there's kind of like a joy in as you break it down. You know,
Mm.
um,
Simple living, high thinking, like our acharyas taught.
yes, yeah, simple living, high thinking. It is a relief. And so simplicity seeks God. I'm not
Mm.
interested in seeking happiness in this way or that way. I'm interested in seeking God. I'm interested in seeking, you could define God in different ways here too for different people. Of course, for the bhakti yogis, it's, Krishna or Vishnu, but I'm seeking that highest truth. I'm seeking what's really most meaningful in life. I'm not so interested in seeking happiness through external things.
Mm.
Um, then we're getting somewhere, you know. Then it's like we're gonna something will open up to us, you know. And then he says, and then purity enjoys him. So if simplicity seeks God, purity enjoys him. When our happiness is found in connection, you know, you see, you do see so much of it in India, you know. I think I was talking about how, maybe you didn't hear that show, but my last moments in India, just before driving to Delhi and getting on a plane, were
Yeah.
spent in Haridwar. You've spent some time in Haridwar?
I'm very small. I like
Kind of
got on
pass
another
through.
bus in Haridwar. Yeah.
You didn't
I like
bathe there in the
switched
river?
buses. I didn't bathe in Haridwar.
No.
I bathed in Devaprayag, but not other
Okay,
way.
that's great. Yeah, yeah. Whatever is whether it's Dave. You know, I also went to Dave Prayag
Oh,
a
I
week ago
know.
today. Yeah, and but both there in Haridwar, it was like when I was in Haridwar,
Hmm.
it was a quiet place. It wasn't the main fully active place. Like Haridwar has this super active bathing ghat. You know, this place where everybody bathes and they do the puja there. They do this big puja every evening. And it's like jumping. That place is like really hopping, which
Hopping,
is yeah, which is
hopping
fun
around
too.
there.
You know, like lots of kirtan and puja going on, and everybody's excited, and the
Mm.
river's flowing, and it's nighttime, and it's kind of really that's kind of like fun, active kind of thing. But this was the morning at a quiet like beach kind of got before you get there, a quiet, really quiet place. We're on the
So a
other
different
side of the
view.
river. It's like this. National, what do they call it, like a national preserve, wildlife
Mm.
preserve kind of thing.
So no one can build on the land, and it's
Yeah.
quiet, and yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like it's been there for centuries. And you know, they
Mm.
say you can see wild elephants wandering over there sometimes and stuff.
Still?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Wow.
heard. But it
Did you
was, you
see
know,
any?
I'm sorry?
Did you see
I
any?
didn't see any, no.
Okay.
But at that time a bus arrived from Tamil Nadu, which is like that's a very, very long distance.
Okay.
And then maybe they came up by train, maybe not by bus, I don't know. But it was you know, a busload or two of pilgrims, and everybody was in such joy. Um, you know, externally, what's the big deal? You're getting in some cold water, you know. I mean, maybe on the level of nature, it's pleasant, but not to stimulate the kind of joy that was in the hearts of everyone, and you could see it everywhere. There was um, there was an excitement, a buzz. You know,
Mhm.
for these people bathing in the Ganges River is something that, you know, they've read about their whole life, and maybe this is the one time they may do it.
Yeah.
And that idea of closeness to God, you know, why is the Ganges River important? It's due to its connection to God,
Mhm.
that they find it, you know, so important. And it was like I think everybody there kind of felt like just auspiciousness was just raining down on everyone. Everyone was feeling it. Everyone felt it together. And
Mm.
so, you know, purity enjoys him. I'm not interested in trying to enjoy, you know, all the kind of, you know, it's sad that even there you see some people go up there now because, like in Rishikesh, like what do they call it? Like the action sports or whatever, those kind of
Oh yeah, there's whitewater rafting and bungee
rafting
jumping
and bungee
and
jumping and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's like, I don't need that to be happy.
confusing.
There's really no happiness in it, you know. Not that there's something wrong with whitewater rafting or something like that, but it's like you go to that place for something so much more, you
Right.
know.
I was
And
a whitewater raft guide down the Grand Canyon with my uncle for 3 summers, and
okay,
it's a
we're
very
not condemning that.
different energy than being at the Ganga, right?
Right,
It's
right,
like you're
right.
there for thrill,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was very confusing to see that in Rishikesh for me the first time, but it was also really
It's all new.
evident
Yeah, it's all
that
very new.
Maya can come in anywhere, even to
Sure.
a sacred place.
Yeah. But in any case, I was thinking because we wrapped, I think Raghunath was wrapping up the story of Ambarīṣa, and
Hmm.
we read like the last verse of that chapter today.
Talking about forgiveness.
Yeah,
But can I ask you
forgiveness.
one question, Kaustubha?
Yeah,
With that
sure.
last line of this nugget, purity enjoys him. They're talking about the person who turns to these remedies, not talking about God. right? Because him
I
lowercase.
believe what he's saying is that that when your heart is pure, then your enjoyment becomes God. You're not seeking, you actually have the ability to enjoy God. In other words, to enjoy all that's in connection to God.
Right.
It all starts to become sweet when your heart is pure. When your heart is impure, your mind is impure, you could say,
Yeah.
then you might not even find any joy in that connection, in that
Connection with God.
spirituality. Yeah. There's, of course, that verse that Rupa Goswami composed, where he's talking about the chanting of, of Krishna's names, right? Which is, very traditional Indian spiritual practice, mantra chanting, right? Sit quietly, sit, sit down, sit up straight, take some deep breaths, chant this mantra, bring your mind, absorb it deeply in this name.
Mm-hmm.
And it's described that when people are advanced at it, the tears are welling up in their eyes and their voices choking up, and even they get goosebumps because there's such a thrill in that connection to God. But if we're not so pure, if our mind is distracted in so many ways, if we're distracted by desires and distracted by
Attachments, material attachments.
attachments, aversions, resentments,
Mm-hmm.
different forms of confusion and so on, then there's maybe no taste in it. We may be like, I chant this and I don't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he used the, do you know the analogy that he used? It's in the
Rupa
book.
Goswami.
Yeah, it's in his book, the Upadeshamrita, or the Nectar of Instruction.
Yeah, about jaundice, about sugar
Yes,
candy.
very
Yeah.
good. You want to share it?
Well, that sugar candy tastes sweet typically, right?
Yes.
And then when
That,
you have,
like when we were kids, I don't even know if they do it very much anymore, but we would go to like different kind of like fairs or something like that, and they had this rock candy, which is like, you've seen it? It's on a string.
yeah,
And
now I feel like it's like on a stick and it's like all different colors.
okay, maybe they do it different. It was
But
just
I,
clear.
yeah,
And in India, you see that a lot.
yeah,
Even they put it in butter. They throw it in freshly churned butter. They throw some chunks of that. But just
rock
like, yeah, it's basically just pure sugar, like
sugar.
chunks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and when you have jaundice, that tastes bitter or sour. You can't
Bitter.
appreciate it. It tastes really bitter, right?
Yeah.
Bitter. And so it's like this sickness. And then when we chant the holy names or when we become more purified to
Mhm.
go with this nugget, then we can taste the sweetness when we're cured from the jaundice.
And not only that, but the sugar itself is the cure, right?
Right.
And eating
Right.
sugar is the cure. And then as you become cured, it begins to taste sweet again.
Sweeter.
Yeah. And so similarly, we may chant these names and they may not, there may be no taste, there may be no pleasure in it, but
Mhm.
it's still the cure to try to bring your mind to it, to bring your mind to it, to open up to it. And as we begin to become purified, purified of what? Again, the attachments and the misconceptions and so on. As we become purified of that, then we begin to taste it, and it becomes sweeter and sweeter and sweeter.
Mhm.
So as he's saying, Thomas à Kempis, that simplicity seeks God. Okay, let me focus on what's really important. Let me narrow my life down to what's really significant. And purity enjoys Him. Then when you become purified through living a simple, pure life, then actually there's a taste in spirituality that nothing else can bring. Nothing else can bring. And this is, you know, there was a verse in that was spoken in the previous chapter by Lord Vishnu to Durvāsā Muni. Now, Durvāsā Muni was this powerful mystic. He had abilities that it's not just like abilities that someone has to work really hard to get, like to get these mystic powers that he had. You have to really perform intense austerities you have to have self-control way beyond what, like a super athlete or, incredible classical musician or gymnast or something like that has to achieve that level that Durvāsā had achieved. But it didn't grant him happiness in life. And as a matter of fact, he found himself what it did was it kind of increased his pride and arrogance,
Right.
and he was suffering for it. And so he managed to, in great distress, he managed to get the audience of Vishnu, and he was saying, like, help me. And Vishnu, he was kind to him. He didn't condemn him, you evil, mystic, get out of here, suffer,
Yeah.
go on suffering. It was a different mood. His mood was like, I'm sorry. I wish I could help you. But really, what he expressed was like, I'm under the control of my devotees.
Mm.
It's a very interesting theological idea, right? That here's this big God, powerful one. Who is he? What is his heart like? What does he appreciate? And not only what does he appreciate, but what does he become controlled by, captured by? And he said this verse to Durvāsā. He said, "O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons, or without the sadhus, for whom I am the only destination, like when they love me, that's simplicity, right? They're my only, you are my only destination. You're all I focus on. That's the simplicity. So without those kind of sadhus, those saintly people for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences." In other words, in one sense, I have everything.
Yeah.
But if I don't have the association of those who love me in their heart, I can't even enjoy anything. I don't enjoy anything. I have no interest, no desire to enjoy anything separately. So that yogi's mystic power and the incredible self-discipline that it would take to develop it. And you would think, oh man, once you have that mystic power, you can enjoy life like crazy.
Yeah, you can do anything.
You
Right.
can read minds, you can control people's minds, you can manipulate things, you can make material things appear and disappear, you can transport yourself from here to there instantly, you can do all these things. Oh man, once those things open up, things are going to get really fun. Durvāsā had it and had and was suffering. And Vishnu was saying, he's just kind of drawing our attention to this fact. No. Everything has to do with the condition of one's heart. That's where we need to focus. That's what moves me. That doesn't only move me, doesn't only touch me, doesn't only inspire me or impress me. It controls me. He says,
Right.
it controls me. I do not even wish to I have no desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss, which is like kind of like a self-contained thing, or my supreme opulences, right, which are, the greatest opulences. He possesses them. To him, he's like opening up his heart and saying, to me, I don't know, it's empty without those that love me.
Yeah. Yeah. Ramnath
That's,
Swami often says that what we all want is to love and be loved.
and
That's
it's
it.
coming originally from Lord Vishnu here. He's saying it himself, or from Krishna himself, right? So we wrap up this story today with this one last verse.
New
And then we
chapter.
move into another chapter, which was like some of the earlier chapters in this, where it's like long list of this person had this many children and this many sons, and
Okay.
we go down this lineage. But then the one story becomes highlighted, and it's a story of another mystic yogi, another really powerful mystic yogi. So maybe we'll get to that today. Let's see.
Okay.
You ready? Shall we chant the open? I think the last time that we did this, I chanted the Sanskrit and you chanted the translations.
Yeah, we have a
Do that
sweet little
again.
system.
Okay, let's do that again. Ready?
Yes.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Okay, so we're reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, still in chapter 5, and it's the
Yep.
last verse, which is text number 28.
28.
It seems like text 27 and 28 are what they call the Phal Shruti. The Shruti means hearing, and Phal means like the fruit of hearing, like the special blessings that you get when you hear this narration of Ambarīṣa. Very important narration. Why don't we read 27 as well, so we get the full
Jai.
thing.
Text 27.
Yeah, why don't you read the translations?
Okay. Text 27. Anyone who chants this narration or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaj Ambarīṣa certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord.
Oh, okay. Very good. You can
pointed.
chant it or even think about it. This is potent stuff. This is transformational stuff. This is stuff that rewires the way that we think, elevates the way that we think, purifies the way that we think, and the way that we feel.
Purifies our consciousness.
Yeah, there's that idea that, yogis are just very conscious, or let's say very aware of where their consciousness is, right? No matter what they're doing. If I'm doing some meditation, then I'm trying to bring my awareness into it. If I'm chanting a mantra, I'm trying to bring my awareness into it. And then, in Bhakti Yoga, the entire life kind of expands into a big meditation where it's like, if I'm cooking, well, let me bring my awareness into this, with devotion. Let me have a focused meditation. Let's turn this cooking, the offering of the food, even the eating of the food, into a focused meditation. If I'm conceiving a child, let me do that in the same way. If I'm even cleaning my home, it's not my home. Ultimately it's God's home. Let me clean this home with this focused kind of awareness. And here it's saying that the different places that you choose to focus your awareness will have different effects. And this story is potent. This story that we just read about Maharaj Ambarīṣa, how a great mystic yogi mistreated him, falsely accused him, attacked him, and then it backfired on the mystic yogi, and he ran to Lord Brahma, he ran to Lord Shiva, he ultimately ran to Lord Vishnu, and he began to understand that I became very proud and arrogant, and I couldn't recognize. I was seeing King Ambarīṣa as less than me, because one he's a king and I'm a mystic, right? The kings are all interested in materialistic affairs, and I'm beyond all that, and that's surely evident in my mystic power. And in that state of that state of pride blinded him. It made him, what would you call it? Like overly touchy, I guess.
Sensitive?
Huh?
Sensitive?
Yeah,
Overly
overly
sensitive?
sensitive, or just
Temperamental.
yes, thank you. Temperamental. Made him overly temperamental, and he took offense when there was none. Actually, he was being shown great respect, but he misinterpreted it all. And so, then he tried to attack the king. The king was on such another level of spiritual thought that even though he was being attacked, I saw a photograph today. It touched me. I'm not going to say who was in the photograph,
Okay.
But it was a photograph of two devotees, two Vaishnavas, two bhakti yogis.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the history of both of these people. And I know that one had really publicly attacked the other, okay, in
Yeah.
ways that I felt were very unfair.
Okay.
And the one yogi there that I am particularly close with, I saw behind the scenes how he responded to that. I mean, publicly he had no
Nothing to say.
response. Yeah, he didn't fight back. But I saw that even in private, he didn't become upset and didn't say anything bad about the person that was saying it about him. And
Wow.
that was some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a photograph of the two embracing one another. And, you know, like sometimes when there's a photograph, you can see, and it's of two people embracing, then you see the back of one person in the face of the other person over the shoulder.
Yes, yes.
So they were embracing, and the person that I'm close with, the one that had been attacked,
Mm-hmm.
his was the face that you could see. And you could see that it was a full-on hug, like, you know, like, full, you know, it
Like
wasn't
it wasn't a
like,
fake hug. It wasn't like
yes,
pleasantries. It was
which
like there was
do
emotion.
exist out there. Yeah, yeah, like
It
a
wasn't
little
like
kind of
pat on the back.
formality. Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, you could see it was a full hug, but not only by like the depth of the embrace, but by the look on the face.
Mm.
And it reminded me of a hug that
Mm.
was in the Srimad Bhagavatam that was described. And that was, and of course, this is going back now. We're in the ninth canto now.
Yeah.
But this hug was in the fourth canto. It was when Prithu Maharaj. Now, tell me if you remember this, Kishori Gopi. Prithu was this, he was not only just a great king and a great devotee, a great bhakti yogi. He was said to be like Shaktavesha avatar, right? Like he's directly empowered
Right. Yeah.
by Krishna. He's just praised like on and on and on in Bhagavatam for his incredibly deep spiritual qualities. And on behalf of the people, he was performing these rituals that were meant to kind of bring auspiciousness into the to the entire kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant his goal was to do 100 of these rituals. And those rituals, Raghunath and I like to call them horse rejuvenation ceremonies, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Because it could be easy to misinterpret that they were killing the horse, but the idea
Total
was
sacrifice. Yeah.
that a horse would be thrown into the fire,
Mhm.
but that the very same horse would come out of that fire in a rejuvenated body.
Mhm.
And when you see that happen, you realize, okay, this ritual is for real. It's not just like some external thing. And so he had done 99 of these rituals, and he was about to do number 100.
Mhm.
But the person who had done 100 before, do you know who had done 100 before? That was Indra.
Oh.
Okay. And so now, and Indra again, he's like, we have to respect Indra. The level of his dharmic behavior
Mhm.
had to be practically beyond that of anyone else in the universe to get the position of Indra.
Right.
And so he had done 100 of those rituals. But even though he had this materially very high position, it didn't relieve him of fear and anxiety. And when he saw that Prithu was about to do number 100,
Mm-hmm.
he now this is, you know, the whole scene is like when he's coming up on number 100, it's like great sages and demigods are all there gathering to be
Everyone's
part of the
gathering.
ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came, and in disguise, he disguised himself as a sadhu.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, as a renunciate, as a sannyasi. He
Yeah.
disguised himself in saffron cloth. It's said that by doing this, he inaugurated the
Sacrifice or the rejuvenation.
no. He inaugurated this inauspicious trend for people to dress up as holy men that really aren't.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yes.
That's where that, okay, because that happens.
That's where that all comes from.
That happens.
A- And so that in itself was a terrible thing to do,
Mm.
that kind of dishonesty. Dressing up as a holy man with some ill motive. And his motive was entirely selfish. He should have been like, look at this Prithu. I'm trying to represent Vishnu. I'm trying to be a good representative of Vishnu. And here comes Prithu, and he's even better at it than me. I respect that, right? I encourage it. And as a matter of fact, if you could do the role of Indra better than me, well, then by all means, I'm willing to step aside and allow you to take this position, because really, we're all on one team here, aren't we?
Right.
And and so
Indra
let's all
gives
work
us,
together. Yeah.
right.
But he
Indra
wasn't.
gives us so many examples of growth and places within us, right? That
From Indra, you're saying.
from Indra. Yeah.
You know, if
Again
we
and again
go,
and again.
if we want to be a successful materialist, we can read the four Vedas, and they're Indra's praise because he's the model of how to be the successful materialist. But if we want to be a pure bhakti yogi with a heart entirely pure, then we read Bhagavatam, and the same person is seen from an entirely different angle in the Bhagavatam, where he's the hero in the Vedas. He's always seems to be humiliating himself, and this was a heavy humiliation that he disguises himself, he steals the horse, and he gets caught. He gets found out and
Oh,
revealed. Yeah, publicly, right in front of everyone.
it's like, it makes me, yeah, it's like
Very
such
embarrassing.
embarrassment. Yeah.
Very, very embarrassing, very humiliating. And Prithu is so good that he doesn't even condemn him.
Mm.
And then they get on with the ritual again, and then Indra steals it again.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my God, how much anxiety he must have been in. I just can't let this happen. I can't let this happen.
Yeah.
And he gets caught again, humiliated again. And Brahma comes there, and Vishnu comes to the scene. And I believe it's Vishnu. It may have been Brahma, but I believe it's Vishnu that says, now forgive him, and now embrace him. And when he tells him to embrace him, he says, I forget exactly how it was worded, but he said, whatever he said, it was like embrace him full-heartedly. Don't just embrace him because we got to set the right example, or embrace him, but like embrace him letting go of any animosity that you have, which would seem to be very justified in this case. So when I saw that photograph, I said, look at this.
That's what you thought
Look
of.
at this. This devotee was, really publicly criticized a lot, by this other person. And I can see that he's embracing him, seeing all the good that's in that other person, embracing him with a big smile, eyes closed and a smile on his face. I was impressed. I was very
That's
impressed.
incredible. Gives
Yeah.
such hope to me too.
That we can do it. There are examples to follow.
Yeah.
And when you live like that, you live a anxiety-free life. Not that there won't be troubles in life, but you pass over them without the anxiety of someone that doesn't have that level of understanding or faith. So in any case,
Thanks for sharing
Ambarīṣa.
that.
Oh yeah, it really touched me. It really touched me. So in any case, we have this story of Ambarīṣa, who's like Prithu. He's, even though he got offended, attacked by this great mystic Durvāsā, he didn't bear any animosity. He actually was speaking to him as if he revered him, even after he had been attacked. And his story ends here. We hear the right now we're hearing that just by bringing your consciousness to his story, it says one certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. In other words, hearing about him has a potency in it. If you bring your awareness to it, it transforms your awareness. If you bring your consciousness to it, it transforms your consciousness. That's the first statement. Now text 28 is the next one.
Text 28. By the grace of the Lord, those who hear about the activities of Maharaj Ambarīṣa, the great devotee, certainly become liberated or become devotees without delay.
Okay, so it's more or less the same thing. Okay,
Reiterating.
yeah. Okay, so that concludes the 5th chapter of the 9th canto.
Mhm.
Then we move on to the 6th chapter, which is entitled "The Downfall of Saubhari Muni." Okay.
Saubhari.
Yeah. Saubhari Muni means a great thinker, a great philosopher, but we can picture again like he's like a mystic yogi. Okay.
Okay.
He's no small timer. He's a person that well, we're going to read what he does. Let me I thought I had this marked, but I'm looking right now. Okay, here we go. Let's begin with text 38
Okay.
and read about I'm skipping all those other verses because as we did in some of the earlier chapters in the 9th canto, it's a long list of who had how many sons and they had how many
The son
sons
of
and
this
one
yeah.
married that one and then the two of them had another child. And then it gets down to a king named Mandhata who had 3 sons. So why don't you begin there, text 38.
Text 38. Mandata, is that how you say it?
Yes,
Mand-
Mandhata.
Mandhata begot 3 sons in the womb of Bindumati, the daughter of Sasubindu.
Bindumati.
Bindumati,
Yes.
daughter of Sasubindu. These sons were Purukta, Ambarīṣa, and Mukunda.
Muchukunda.
Muchakunda.
And this must be a different Ambarīṣa too.
Okay, not the one we were not in
Yeah,
chapter. What we've been
because
reading about.
we've gone down the line quite a ways at this point.
It's a well-used name. A great mystic yogi. These 3 brothers had 50 sisters. Wow, who all accepted the great sage Saubhari as their husband.
Do you know the story about Saubhari?
No, could you share?
Well, we're about to hear right now.
Okay, okay, wait. I'll read it then. Text 39 to 40. Saubhari Rishi was engaged in austerity deep in the water of the river Yamuna when he saw a pair of fish engaged in sexual affairs. Thus he perceived the pleasure of sex life, and induced by this desire, he went to King Mandatta and begged for one of the king's daughters. In response to this request, the king said, "O Brahmana, any of my daughters may accept any husband according to her personal selection."
Okay, let's hold it right there.
Okay.
So a lot was said in those 2 verses, but perhaps the most important thing is here's Saubhari Rishi or Saubhari Muni, and he had the power to engage in meditation under the water, right? He was engaged in austerity deep in the water of the river Yamuna. It means that he could go under the water and stay under the water and apparently either hold his breath or breathe under the water for long periods of time. Now, this is going to sound like mythology, but I'll tell you something.
Tell us.
I have a friend that claims to have witnessed this kind of action.
Seeing
this
someone
something-
meditating underwater.
For 2 weeks.
Wow. In India?
Yeah.
Wow.
Saw him underwater. I mean, I'm sure he didn't stay there the entire 2 weeks, but you know.
In the Ganga or where?
Yeah, I assume it was in the Ganga, but it was up in the Himalayas. You know, Yogi Charu told me.
I was gonna ask you. It was the next
Yes.
words out of my mouth. Was it Yogi Charu that told you this?
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, and he said he came out of the water, like with his skin just like normal, like it wasn't at all.
Pruny.
Yeah, exactly, wrinkled up. Right. So
Merman.
we're introduced here to another mystic yogi. Who else can do such a thing? Somehow he had the power. Maybe, I don't know if it's holding breath, like you can just exist without taking in more air. It would seem to me like that would be the case. But you can do so apparently effortlessly because the whole point is you're trying to meditate. The whole point is I can go into that water and have no distractions.
Right.
You know, deep down, you know, in
Under
the
the sea.
octopus's garden down there. Right? And so, you know, at first glance, here we hear about another sage who has a fall down. Where we heard Ambarīṣa is kind of getting sandwiched between two powerful mystic yogis.
Mm.
The first one, Durvāsā, it was like he was kind of, his austerity and mystic power, it kind of warped into arrogance,
Mm.
you know, pride and arrogance.
Right.
And somehow Saubhari Muni's, it was a little different, but somehow and imagine this, imagine the self-control it takes to develop that power. And then you're down and underneath the water, and something as simple as seeing two fish mating throws you off track.
Can you really even see what that is? Like it's probably, you know,
Somehow. Yes, yeah, I thought
very
it.
subtle, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But it was enough to trigger something that was still inside him,
That desire.
some material desire that was still inside him, that there's enjoyment to be found outside of myself.
Mm.
It just, because it was still there, he was still prone to it. Because those mystic ambitions that he must have had to achieve this, because it was still circumventing the shelter of Krishna.
Mm.
So he was kind of very powerful, but dependent, but that's of course relative.
Right.
He may have been very powerful, but he's not more powerful than Maya, right? He's not more powerful than the illusory energy of Krishna, which is, you know, so what is it? 7:14. Krishna says, this energy of mine is very difficult to overcome.
Mm.
Missing the first word, but you got it? You can pull up 7:14?
Yeah.
Give me the first word. Mama Maya Duratya. He says,
Daivahe Esagun.
Daivi he shagunamai.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Maya Duratya. This energy of mine is very difficult to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
But mameva ye prapajante. Mayame tam tarantite. But one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. Now, we see in Ambarīṣa, he had surrendered. Externally, he wasn't doing the kind of austerities that these other mystics were doing. He wasn't practicing the intense self-discipline that they must have practiced to develop their powers. But that's not the goal of life.
Mm.
The goal of life is actually to reconnect with the very source of our spiritual, you know, existence. And that's where his focus was entirely. And so he was kind of like on a safe path. And even though these two were so advanced on the path of mystic yoga, they were vulnerable to pride, to anger, to being, to great fear. And in the case of Saubhari, he gave in to just like sensual weakness, doing his tapasya under the water. He was, you know, in isolation. He's, you know, that underwater tapasya is kind of like a symbol of intense withdrawal from worldly life.
Right.
But even in such isolation, he wasn't immune. He wasn't free, you know. And apparently he was still not satisfied, you know.
Right.
He still wasn't satisfied. So let's read on. And
Like what Jiva says, that Maya's waiting, doing push-ups outside your door.
That's right.
Even
Stronger.
under the sea, under the
That's right.
through the fish.
Right on the bank. Yeah. Right
Yeah.
underneath behind the reef.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Look,
working out.
she's looking for us. Text 41 to 42.
Yes.
Saubhari Muni thought, I am now feeble because of old age. My hair has become gray, my skin is slack, and my head always trembles. Besides, I am a yogi. Therefore, women do not like me. Since the king has thus rejected me, I shall reform my body in such a way as to be desirable even to celestial women. What to speak of the daughters of worldly kings?
Okay, so he went to the king and he was thinking, maybe just because I'm such a powerful sage, the king will marry a daughter to me. But the king was more like, my daughters choose himself, you know. So now he's thinking, well, nobody's going to choose me. I'm just too old and, you know, wrinkly, and I'm trembling all the time. But he had the power to transform his body. So he says, okay, I'm I'm going to transform this body so that even the women in the heavens would be attracted to it.
He
So
can
does
breathe
this.
underwater. He can shape shift.
Yeah,
Wow.
but still not satisfied. Okay.
Still not satisfied. Text 43. Thereafter, when Saubhari Muni became quite a young and beautiful person, the messenger of the palace took him inside the residential quarters of the princesses, which were extremely opulent. All 50 princesses then accepted him as their husband, although he was only one man.
Okay, it
Wow.
worked.
Wowzas.
They were all very interested in him.
Okay, continue.
Yes.
Text 44. Thereafter, the princesses, being attracted by Saubhari Muni, gave up their sisterly relationship and quarreled among themselves. Oh, no. Each one of them contending, this man is just suitable for me and not for you. In this way, there ensued a great disagreement.
Okay. So
Oh,
so even now we can see on the material path, he's thinking, he must be thinking, okay, not only I'm going to find such happiness in the embrace of a beautiful woman, right?
mhm.
That's where I'm going to find what's lacking in my heart right now.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to find it. And he has facilities that like no ordinary man has. Like even a good-looking guy, a good-looking wealthy guy, he's going to have some opportunities, but he
Mhm.
can actually produce a body that is so attractive that like immediately 50 women are fighting over him. you know but
Yes,
at
sir.
the yeah but at the same time, it's not it's complicated. Things just got complicated now, right? It was like he was living a simple life. That little desire that was in him grew and became big. It must have been hidden in him. He must have thought he didn't have it anymore,
Mhm.
but somehow it was still its potential to arise in him was so just under the surface
Mhm.
that just seeing two fish was enough to set him off.
Right.
And
It
so,
reminded me of the story. I can't remember the name. You'll know it immediately. But when the sage takes in, is it the deer? And then he needs to have a home for the
yeah,
deer. And then,
Maharaj.
yeah.
Yeah, that was another type of attachment, right? That kind of like sweet affection,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, that he was feeling. Um, Under the surface in both cases. Here, he's come up, he's created the body, exactly everything according to plan. Wow, 50 women are all really into me. Beautiful princesses, we can assume. Um, but now it's just gotten a little complicated too.
Mm,
But he has mystic power, so he can respond to these complications in ways that the ordinary man can't. But still, how far can he?
right.
How far can he satisfy them? How far can he keep life peaceful? He may get some enjoyment, but at what cost? Why don't we tune in tomorrow to find out at what cost?
Yeah. Yeah. And
As we're
but this
running out of
comes
time here.
back to that nugget you were saying of like simplicity and
Exactly.
purity, right? Because
Yeah.
he complicated his life. He just got 50 wives. That's really complicated, I
Yes.
imagine.
He was banking on just one, but then I assume when the opportunity presented himself, he's like, okay, I've got a lot of Shakti. I can handle this.
Oh
We'll
my God.
see. We'll see how he handles it or how it goes.
Yeah.
A
All right. Well,
cliffhanger.
What's
cliffhanger.
that, Mara?
It's a cliffhanger.
It's a cliffhanger. Okay.
All right.
But
You
meanwhile,
ready
you
for
have
some
some takeaways?
takeaways?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yogis take joy in simplifying life.
Mm,
Okay.
When we find happiness in connection with God, we don't need externals.
We certainly don't.
Chanting the holy name is the cure to purify our hearts.
Nice.
beautiful.
Even Vishnu just wants to love and be loved.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Bhagavatam purifies, transforms, and elevates our consciousness.
Okay.
Oh, that was a good one.
We can learn to be a successful materialist or a pure devotee from the stories of Indra.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's depending on what angle you look at them.
Yeah. Even mating fish can throw us into illusion and desire.
Hard to believe.
Jeez.
Surrender to Krishna is the only way to overcome our vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
There's no happiness in whitewater rafting in Rishikesh.
No, there's no. I don't. What breaks my heart is that they make so much noise when they're doing. It's because some of these places. These are the places that people went to find peace, and some of these ashrams are on the bank of the river, and you have these sages living there, and then you have these people going down, and they don't stop. Sometimes it's just like keeps going on, and one after the other, and they're all just being silly and yelling and act like, oh man, come on, man, this isn't good for you. It's not good for anyone.
Right. I know a boat that flipped and someone on it, and they tore their ACL.
Oh, see?
You know,
Dangerous stuff.
stay away.
I'm not against whitewater rafting, but just if you're gonna do it on the Ganga, be real respectful. Don't yell and scream. You know, just like go down. Do it nice. All right.
So good to be with you, Kaustubha Ji and Mara.
Yeah, it's you and me
Thank you.
tomorrow, right? Is that right, or is it me and Raghu?
Raghu's
I
back
think
tomorrow.
Raghu's back. Thank
Oh,
heaven.
Raghu's back tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah.
Kishori Gopi, thank you so much then for being with us today.
It's always my pleasure.
Hey,
Thank you
so we
much.
got your wedding coming up pretty soon. Huh?
Yeah, it's less than 7 weeks.
Okay.
Final
Wow.
countdown.
Oh, I didn't book my. I didn't. Do I need to do that, don't I?
Yeah, we'll be in touch with you. No worries.
Oh,
The
reach
room
out
is
to
still
me so
waiting
that-
for you. It's not it's the inns that Srinivas owns, so they're all clear. No
Okay.
one else can book it.
So you
You're
just
good.
let me know or what I need to do.
Yeah, I'll let you know when you do.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kishori Gopi, especially. Thank you, Mara, for being here for me. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with Raghu. We'll continue the story of the great mystic yogi, Saubhari Muni. It has a happy ending.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for letting us know that.
I think it's kind of a happy ending here, but I think it goes into more detail in the 11th canto. I think he comes back and it goes into more detail about how it all worked out. Okay. Oh, and I see Stephanie. Stephanie, I got to reach out to you. We got to connect now.
You have a full schedule of calls.
Yeah, you got a lot of
to make
people to
for
talk to,
those.
because
I do.
stressing me out just hearing about all of that.
Anyway, I'm happy to be back and happy to reconnect with everyone.
We're happy
to
you're back.
reconnect here with everyone and happy to reconnect tomorrow at 7 a.m. Until then, it's a beautiful day for a beautiful day, and let the magic flow. Mwah.